Hi, this is Scott Seaton, music director of the North State Symphony, and this is another edition of Musician Accents. And today, my special guest is one of our cellists in the symphony, Anthony Polcari. Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Scott. I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor, and yeah, I'm just glad to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to finally be able to chat with you. We attempted to record this once before,
That's
and
right.
even in this world where we're forced to use computers and microphones and
Mhm.
cameras all
Right.
the time, sometimes things go wrong. So we're happy to finally have figured out all the many logistical nightmares that prevented this
Yeah.
interview before. But it's great to have you. Um,
Bound to happen. Always.
and I just want to start out by saying, when I usually chat with musicians to begin,
Mhm.
I usually acknowledge their chair sponsor, but you do not have a chair sponsor to my knowledge. So whoever is watching, this is an incredible musician, and we hope to get him a chair sponsor very soon because our chair sponsors have these great relationships with our musicians, and they really support each other, and they really get to know the inner workings of the symphony, which is really cool. And in a time where in a post-pandemic world when we'll actually be able to have people host our musicians again, it's the same type of relationship that it's really special with the North State Symphony because so many of our musicians come from out of state, and we rely on these relationships that right now during a pandemic world are not really happening at the moment, but we hope to get back to that very soon.
Yeah.
But Anthony, yeah, we hope to get you a chair sponsor because I mean, what a great guy.
I appreciate that. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to, forcibly do that, but it would mean a lot to me and of course the symphony. It helps us as a collective group. So it would be wonderful, but yeah, just at least come out to the concerts
Oh, absolutely.
when we get when we can play in those concerts again.
Uh,
Very
so
excited.
so let's just start out by how have you been these past several months? How have you been holding up?
Yeah,
You obviously been keeping busy because you have an incredible musical family. You guys interviewed me a couple months ago, so you have this
right.
incredible podcast going on.
Yeah.
But tell me about what's been up with you. What have you been keeping busy with?
Well, mostly it's just been innovation or trying to innovate what I do as a musician and just try to stay busy. So mostly that means a lot of recording things, setting up a podcast that I do with my dad where um, we're going to be talking about some hopefully cool musical things that a lot of people don't know about, like Vexations by Satir.
Hmm.
Great piece, great piece. Totally bizarre. It's played I think 571 times on repeat. So we're gonna dive into why would someone write a piece that you would do that back in the 19th century? Why would anyone do that? And just kind of go into some of these interesting musical stories that maybe not a lot of people know about. So and aside from that, just yeah, a lot of practicing and then just trying to work with other musicians through either recording and then
Mhm.
sending clips together or as you'll see, when is it, this Friday, I think, or when is the
We
next.
have moved the release to October 29th, so
Right,
that
right,
will
right.
come out then. But yeah, we're really excited, and it was so great to have you all
Mm,
in a space together actually making music, which has been far too long for that to happen.
yeah, it felt so good too, by the way. I have to say, for someone who, I enjoy my time alone on occasion with a good book and a cup of coffee, of course, but a couple months of just isolation can get to you. So it's wonderful to play real music and really wonderful music together. So it's thank you, Scott and North State and everyone who helps make that happen. But yeah, uh,
It was
it's
it was
things
a
have been.
long process to get there. Let's
Yeah,
say that, yeah.
I'm
Uh,
I don't
well,
even
let's
want to. That's crazy.
well
Yeah,
let's
sorry.
backtrack a little bit. Let's start out with how long have you been associated with the North State Symphony? And before we answer that, I noticed,
Mhm.
for our listeners, you won the North State Symphony Young Artists auditions back in 2010 with the
Yeah.
Haydn C Major, back when you were what, 2 years old at that point? I mean,
practically 2 years old. That was, I guess I was a senior, I think, or
Hmm.
I may have just graduated from high school, getting ready to go to my first school at Long Beach
Yeah,
and then to Cal Arts. Um, but that was an incredible experience, by the way, Scott. It was so exhilarating. It's maybe not the biggest concerto ever written ever, but as soon as you sit, with the conductor to your left,
hmm,
it's the same thing as playing the, Dvorak or whatever. It's so visceral and real, and I loved every moment of that. And I think I started playing with North State. The first ever time I got to play with North State was I was in 7th grade, and we did the Mozart Requiem. So it was just a small holiday concert.
hmm.
Um, and I think maybe the following year or the next year, I was just asked to be sort of like a student sub,
Yeah.
and we did La Forza del Destino, or I think something like that.
La Forza del
By
Destino. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. A couple of other really big pieces, but that's forever um, set in stone in my memory.
Sure.
As it's, I think honestly though, without that moment, without North State allowing me the opportunity for that, I don't know what I would do musically,
Hmm.
honestly. I think that it was such an important moment in my life, and yeah, I'm just so grateful about it. And there's a lot of North State members still in the orchestra from way back when we did that as well. So it's always great it's like a family at this point. It really is. It's seeing family members now. But yeah, that
Well,
was a long time ago.
yeah, it's so great to hear stories like this, and to hear how the symphony
Mhm.
in mostly rural Northern California has affected so
Right.
many people so profoundly. I mean, even one of our board members, our very young board members, Eric, he his first symphony performance that he went to was um, in 2015 with the Beethoven Five, which is astounding. And
Oh
now,
yeah.
5 years later, he's going to Vanderbilt and still wants to be heavily involved with the orchestra, which is amazing. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's so great to
So incredible.
hear how music, and especially this community of music lovers has changed people's lives.
Yeah, and
Um,
I just wanted to quickly add that you did nail it on the head, especially about Reading being. I think rural is a perfect way to describe Reading, and I guess Chico begins to be a little bit less so. It's more college town oriented,
mhm,
from my perspective. But it is. I think it's really vital to have some form of symphony, if at the very least to inspire maybe people like me or other people that don't even know they enjoy music in the classical genre, whatever. Yeah, it's a big genre now, but yeah, I think it's just as important as anything else, as the sciences, as industry. I think culture is a staple of a growing and just evolving city, like
right.
Reading is, and Chico, of course. So it's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, it is really the little things, and it's really great seeing these micro transformations that are happening in Reading, especially these little projects like,
Mhm.
for instance, the Umbrella Alley, which I got a nice shot of that
Right.
for our opening concert. That's going to
Mhm.
be in the when the orchestra is tuning the intro part. But
Right.
because it's these little things that set the path, that set the trajectory, that really put into scope what's possible. And
Agreed.
with all these things that are happening, it's exciting to think about possible ways that symphony can be involved, and collaborations that can happen, and new and exciting things, what risks can be taken, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
we'll see what the future few years holds. um, but I want to dig more into you. So
Sure. Sure.
let's how did you get started in music? How
Yeah.
was cello your first instrument? If not, how did you get there?
Right. So I'm one of the lucky few who started on an instrument and stuck with it. Um, it started way back when I was 3 years old. So if you've seen Michael Eby's interview, I think he did an interview, and
Yes.
he has around the same start time. I think he started when he was 2, and he also I think started with cello. But yeah, I was 3 years old, so was I really playing? Let's be real. Not exactly. I was probably just banging the bow on the cello and making cacophonous noises, and much to the chagrin of my family. But I stuck with it. They're both music teachers, my parents. They always valued lessons. And so even when I was very young, I think maybe 4 is when I had my first lesson. It just kind of kicked off from there. And it wasn't always an easy path. For any young musicians out there, there's a lot of moments when you do not want to play, or you really don't want to practice, and you want to
Oh,
go out and play with your friends or do anything else that resembles normalcy.
oh yeah.
Um, but at later in my life, I think thanks to the North State, and I'm not trying to plug North State so much, I promise, but I did begin to love and appreciate music more so. I mean, growing up, I listened to lots of music, not just classical, jazz, Coltrane, Pat Metheny, all sorts of other greats, Miles Davis. And then I started listening to more classical oriented stuff. Pablo Casals, great cellist,
Oh yeah.
Jacqueline Dupre, who's still probably my biggest influence. And I joke with my musician friends that cello playing kind of became a little bit Stockholm syndrome y, because I would have to, I was told to practice, and I began to fall in love with it. But really, I just the more and more you kind of grow with an art, the more you see that these people centuries ago were like you, or like me, and there's a lot of relatability that, if you know how to look past the little dots on the music, there's a lot of emotion and a lot of things that are completely the same. Like, I'm not sure how to explain it. It's like the same human experience that they went through, and that you get to go through, and then you get to relive what they felt. I don't know. It's so hard to explain, but
Well, yeah.
essentially,
I
yeah,
mean, that's a huge conversation, but that is
of course.
for me, one of the greater points of not just music in general, but symphonic music, because it does go back so far. You know,
Right.
we are a living history, a thing that exists for a
Mhm.
finite amount of time, and you're able to get glimpses into periods that the only other ways you can do that is to go to a museum, where it's a very different experience, but it's the same experience. Everything is laid out
Right.
before you,
Mhm.
and it's there, it exists always. But with music, with a symphony of Beethoven, or a symphony of Haydn, or a Brandenburg concerto of Johann Sebastian
Mhm.
Bach, you
Right,
go,
right.
and you for X amount of time, you're transported to another realm, experiencing a political and cultural world that is very far removed from anything we can imagine now, and yet there are
Mhm.
so many similarities. So it's about
Absolutely.
um, it's about learning, and also at the same time it's about affirming that this stuff has happened before. Nothing we're experiencing now is really new. Everybody has felt
Right.
this way.
Mhm.
Nothing we can feel is unique, but we are all in this together somehow. So that's
That's so
that's what I
well said.
enjoy the most about recreating a symphony of Beethoven, or
Absolutely.
especially Mahler. To not go back too far, but
Right, 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 right. But I just want to kind of expand on that really quickly, because I, number one, completely agree. But right, I mean, there's this. It's almost like, I mean, of course, when you see a ballet, or when you read a book from, yeah, maybe the 1800s or the 1700s, there is obviously emotion and respect for the craft, of course, that you might feel. I think most of us feel, even if you're not, affluent in ballet, or in going to the museums and all of that, of course. But for me, and I think with a lot of other people, music, it has this visceral pull, especially when it's done right. And it really is. It's almost like you're being pulled in by this imaginary, I don't know, maybe emotional rope into, yeah, this completely different time period. And just like you were saying, it is different. Of course it's different, but it's also very similar. And
right. And
yeah,
what
that's
you're talking about sort of touches on the hugest, the most significant problem that art music faces nowadays is of course getting new audiences, getting people to really understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because when people hear the words like ballet or classical music or orchestra or symphony, it has a sense of elitism to it, and
Right.
so which it
Nose
really
up. Yeah.
it's so not. It's so not. I mean, there are a couple
Exactly.
institutions where you can go and it can be a very formal experience. Metropolitan Opera, of course, is a
Mhm.
very unique experience. I'm sure going to Bayreuth and hearing a Wagner opera is all is its own. I hope to experience it someday.
Me too. Me too.
But when I was in college in Boston, I was a poor grad student. I went to the Boston Symphony in torn jeans and a dirty white T-shirt, and
That's
because
right.
the music pulled me there, and
Yeah.
that's what I want people to get from organizations like the North State Symphony is we are here for you. We're not here just for some of you. And
Mhm.
what's exciting is pandemic especially has created um, this mold for thinking that has to go beyond everything we've ever tried before. And hopefully, once we all get out of this, we'll have found new ways to really delve into the parts of our communities that haven't really been accessible before in a lot of ways, and
Right. Right.
make a future concert where you have Beethoven all the more special because of maybe something new and unique that you have paired on the program, or some
Right.
weird curation that has come from a conversation with someone who's never gone to the symphony before. So it's all these micro things that are all built on each other and all affect each other, and that's
Oh yeah.
going to be exciting in terms of forward thinking, because that's all we have right now.
That is that is true. I don't think anyone ever wishes that the world will force them to, open up avenues where it's kind of like, well, we really have to sort of try to reach out to, younger generations just to get them excited about music as much as we are, just for, whatever reasons. And I know, yeah, telecommunication or doing stuff, through the internet is a good way of doing that, but it's definitely, we kind of got pushed into that. I think musicians rather be with one another on the stage, or something like that. But whatever happens, hopefully, where maybe people watch a video and they get excited about music, or they see how much excitement there can be. Yeah, that's all we can hope for sure.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. I mean, we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
we
yeah,
have
of
to have a
course.
little patience. We live in a very unique state with a lot of things that depend on each
Yeah,
other, and
yeah,
but let's get back into you started playing very young, but was there a
right.
moment in your life um, that you can pinpoint that says I really have to stick with music. I want to be a musician. Was there a defining moment for you, or was it sort of a culmination of lots of smaller moments, or how did that work out?
Yeah. I wish I could say that there was an aha moment.
Hmm.
And maybe there was, probably um maybe when I was really young, first seeing North State perform music, and then maybe seeing other, because really quickly, my family and I, we've always sort of hopped around relatively smaller cities. I think Eugene was the biggest one that we were at that I remember. The other cities, like, we were Billings, Montana, Colorado Springs,
Mm.
Colorado. Um, yeah, Santa Maria even was sort of a relatively smaller city in Southern California. But when I first saw the symphony, and then I think hearing even the San Francisco Symphony for the first time, I feel like that was probably one of my biggest jumps to my excitement to really focus on playing cello.
Mm.
But it's like with many things, it's a lot of small things that sort of accumulated, like watching Stanley Kubrick films, or which I know it seems bizarre, but all these or reading Ray Bradbury, all these great artists trying to do something positive or make a statement about their world just got me excited to try to be a part of that sort of pantheon of great artists. Not so much for fame, but really just to sort of continue this wonderful just handing down of something really special, something not tangible, but something as important as anything else, more important than money or than fame, like I said, just bringing about hopefully change, but positive change, change that benefits everybody. And I think the arts can and has done that,
Mhm.
or it's at least shed a light on things that haven't been like that. So, yeah, again, not the best answer, but just a bunch of small moving parts that just made me want to be a part of the handing down process
Right.
eventually when I get there. So, yeah.
Well, you're obviously a very passionate musician, and I want to give those who are checking out this interview a chance to just experience a little bit of how you are when you make music with people. Which it seems for a lot of us that the chamber music is really where it clicks. And of course, when I conduct an
Oh, yeah.
orchestra, I try to incorporate a chamber music mindset as much as possible.
Yeah, you really you have to communicate your part with other people as best as you can, and not just, again, not just musically. I think it has to be more than just, here's my part, second violin, now it's your turn to call and respond or something like that. It's more like, this is how I'm feeling right now, and I can hear what you're feeling coming
Right.
back at me, and then having almost a conversation without words. And uh, yeah, it's something else. I wish people could experience that. It's really,
Right,
ooh,
right.
yeah.
What I appreciate about your playing is that you do have those extra layers. You seem to move quite a bit. You have a lot of eye contact, a lot of communication, and
Mhm.
these are fundamental parts of making music with people. Notes on a page, being able to play the part, that's great. But it's when musicians really get the whole experience, when they understand what that responsibility is to make music with in a small setting or even a larger setting with an orchestra, to be
Right.
a leader of a section, or even near the back of a section. If everyone led each other with that same passion, the orchestras or would be just phenomenal. And there's
Absolutely.
really only one orchestra that I can think of that does that, that I've seen with 100% dedication every time, and that's the Berlin Philharmonic.
I was just about to say Berlin Phil, especially
um,
since COVID, been watching a lot of Berlin Phil on Concert Hall for
Oh,
sure. And yeah,
absolutely. I mean, every
or
concert I've been to of theirs has just been amazing. And I remember one in particular was at Carnegie Hall when I went to see them when they were on tour. Brahms' Second Symphony. Just
oh,
watching specifically the bass section,
yeah,
the way
yeah,
they move, they look like trees in a massive wind. Like they were all just swaying back.
absolutely.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
You
But
know,
yeah, I see that in your playing, and that's what I really appreciate about having in the symphony is your playing. The way you communicate with people affects everyone around you in such a positive way. And I just want to thank you for that.
I appreciate that. And to you and also to anyone else, I hope everyone knows it's not meant to be a. I'm not trying to be a ham bone as much as my mom might say something like that if once she watches me play. But it's definitely just sort of letting go of everything else and just being totally enveloped in the music. And yeah, and by the way, that's why I also respect you so much as a conductor, because I feel that same energy from you. I mean, obviously, Scott, you're doing the work. You're focusing on the score. You've done the research. You got experience under your belt. I mean, these are all super important things. But then when you conduct and you're not just a man with a baton, and instead you're an active musician just like us, it's number one very refreshing, and number two vital, I think, for an exciting orchestra. So, yeah, I mean, it's wonderful to watch you move as well.
Well,
And I
thanks. Yeah, I enjoy my job. Let's just say that. I hope I get to do it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, me too, honestly, the both of us. Absolutely.
But yeah, the other day when we were recording, and I actually stepped in here and there to rehearse segments. It felt really good to
Yeah.
get into the music on it, because I really haven't done that at all since March. I've barely even practiced, which
Mhm.
I've just been too busy with
I totally
working
get
out
it.
a virtual symphony season but I'm excited to I've been getting into
Right.
playing a little bit more recently, and I'm recording this coming weekend with North State, so we'll see how that goes.
Ooh,
But
ooh, I'm excited. I always am.
with another question I have for you is, do
Yeah.
you have classically speaking, do you have a favorite composer that you love or you relate to, or a specific piece, or
Yeah. 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 Well, oh no, this is so. The favorite questions are always the bane of my existence because there's so many wonderful choices. I think that I've really been kind of on a neoclassical kick lately, so a lot of Samuel Barber
nice?
and I've been going through Prokofiev symphonies,
Mhm.
which it's so there's so much fun. Um,
I love the fifth. I'm very hesitant to do the fifth, but I love the fifth. The string writing is
I
just so high and
I
ridiculous
honestly
most times.
I know it would be extremely challenging, but I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit of an optimistic when it comes to
Yeah.
Prokofiev. I think it could be done. It
No,
would
yeah,
be.
we'll
I think
definitely do some Prokofiev sometime soon. I
that
just
would be
um,
incredible.
it's a composer I haven't delved into that much, but I love dearly.
Yeah.
His Romeo and Juliet, is one of the first things that I played. Just such visceral, heavy, dark
Right.
music, but
Oh yeah.
it's not like it is very Russian, but
Right.
it's not. It's in its own world. It's
Mhm.
not the same emotional depth as Shostakovich or
Right. Right.
um, Glazunov or any of the you know. But
Yeah.
there's something about the music that
And
just really grabs me.
I think he does a pretty good job at experiencing sort of both these like almost very dolce melodies, just very sweetly, you know, counteracting sort of these big brass moments. If anyone has ever listened to Prokofiev, you know that there's a lot of big brass parts, I guess, and a lot of just I don't know, electricity, especially in the Fifth Symphony, but
Yep.
any one of even, the Third Symphony with there's like a castanet part in there too that's hilarious, or even his first they're all wonderful. But yeah, I guess Prokofiev has been someone I've been really enjoying lately. But Barber, I think, has a special sort of spot in my heart. I've always enjoyed playing Barber, like the cello concerto, just for fun by myself with the
Right.
music playing on speakers here. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I know it's not the another it's another bad answer, but I can't stop hopping from one place to another and just totally wanting to experience it all. I'm
Yeah.
always so hungry for everything. Some days I'm listening to Ravel, the La Tombe de I can't say French today. What's the Tomb of Compiègne or something like that?
Le Tombeau de Couperin.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've been listening to that a lot. Another great piece because we have a great flute player and great winds. I mean, that would
Mhm.
be a cool thing to do.
Oh yeah, no, that's a delightful little piece.
But
Ravel is another one. You have such extremes from La Tombeau to like
yeah,
Daphnis and Chloe, which is just everything in the
exact.
kitchen sink. It's such amazing music.
But
Um,
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm just yeah, I'm always excited to listen to some of the great artists and also some of the not as well known artists like Klughart, who we are
yeah,
doing a quintet later, and
it's gonna be
been
fun.
it's and I like his music. It does sort of it's got I don't know if it's my own bias, but I can sort of hear a little bit of Schumann in his writing and some
Mhm.
Wagner and some Brahms, a lot of German. So get ready for your
Oh
German
yeah, no, that's gonna
umlauts.
be a fun performance.
It's gonna be
Um,
wonderful.
Speaking of
Definitely.
performances, as long as you've played with the symphony now, is there a favorite performance or two that pop in your mind?
I would say I think my favorite performance was way back when I did my first Mahler. It was Mahler 2,
Mhm.
which is just a great first. I mean, Mahler 1 is also a great first piece to play, but Mahler 2 is it's huge. Number one, it's a gigantic piece, but each movement is as exciting as the last one. And I think, is that the one with the soprano, or is that the is that four?
Four has, yeah, I mean, four ends with the last movement singing about the joys of heaven as experienced from a child. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. I think North State did that as well, or maybe one of my college orchestras. But any time North State puts on Mahler, yeah,
Now,
I'm
did you
absolutely.
play in Mahler 5 with us?
I don't know if I did. I don't think I may
That was
have been.
my second season.
I
That
don't think
was
so.
20. Okay.
I think I was at Cal Arts. That would have been
Oh, okay.
wonderful. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, such a great symphony.
It's so
Hopefully,
good.
hopefully we'll do some more Mahler soon.
Yeah, it's hard to think of doing Mahler again during a pandemic because there's so many musicians and the stage is only so big, so it's definitely hard to get 6 feet distanced for that. But yeah, exactly. It's I think Mahler with the North State way back when was another sort of nitrous in the gas tank sort of moment for
Right.
me. It just really, this is incredible. This is what people do. I love this.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, if performances have to stay reduced in the future, I'm considering orchestrations like the Schoenberg Das Lied von der Erde, or I think he also did one of the Fourth Symphony. So
Yeah.
there's some options out there for small orchestra, which are nice to have, especially now.
I am so on board for that. That sounds I would be curious to hear how that sounds. I think it would work. I think it would work very well. Yeah.
Well,
I'm
Anthony, I have two
excited.
more questions. One breaks away from music for a second. One is just, do you have hobbies outside of music?
Yeah, well, I guess when I'm not doing music, I'm usually I've been trying to kind of follow sort of what Scott and other people I've noticed in the North State do, where they're very exercise focused. So I've been doing a lot more I'm doing a lot more runs. I'm
Nice.
trying to do a some sort of marathon at some point. I'm not there yet whatsoever. Not at all, but been doing a lot of just exercising or you know, yeah, running,
Well, that's
walking,
awesome. That's awesome.
and yeah.
I when I first started doing marathons, I wasn't ready as well. Don't worry.
I guess
No,
no one is probably ready, I'm sure.
it takes a long time to. It takes less time to get there physically than it does mentally. Let's just say that,
Mm,
because you most people can build up the physical um, stamina, the endurance that it takes to run 26.2 miles.
mhm.
But really training yourself in those long runs, in the cycle, getting there, to mentally be there, to coach
Right.
yourself, to support yourself, that's the difficult part.
I
And
was just gonna say, I think that would be the most difficult part, especially someone who says, "All right, let's do that again on, gotta work on that run again." I don't wanna be, "Listen, Anthony, you gotta" I don't know, doing
So
who
yeah,
knows what I was saying.
you'll totally get there. I have no doubts at all. It's just be patient, listen to your body. It'll happen. Running is so great for me, especially because it's a way. It's a form of meditation. It's a way to
Absolutely.
detach yourself. I don't listen to music when I run.
Mm,
It's just all just listening to nature, absorbing yourself in the moment. And one of the few times that I think I can be really truly present during the day is just focusing
yeah,
on one step at a time.
absolutely. Yeah,
Well, that's great to hear.
yeah. It's a, like you said, it's a slow process right now, but
Yeah.
it has been really it's a good way to just relieve stress as well.
Right.
I mean, these are things that I think most people know, but I just never did when I was younger, but I'm enjoying it now a lot. And it's
Awesome.
fall, it's nice. It's pretty hot right now, but it's not the best time for me to be running, but it's very beautiful, no
Yeah.
smoke.
Yeah.
So always a plus.
Reading is actually one of my favorite places to run, because I don't know how much they've improved on the trails since the fires a couple years ago, but
Mhm.
just near. Keswick Dam, there's the heart rate hill that is just amazing. Once you get to the top and are on the river going towards Shasta Dam, it's just some of the most amazing scenery in the whole country. And I've run in
Very.
a lot of places, so that's I mean, it's so we're so
Does it
privileged to have.
does it rival the East Coast? I mean, I always imagine like that is sort of the peak of running, at least in the fall time with the changing of the trees.
Oh, well, that's always an experience in itself, but I mean, to
Can't wait
to
for that.
to see all the trees and the rolling hills in Reading is such a great
That's true.
experience.
Absolutely.
Well, Anthony, my final question for you goes a
Yes.
little bit back to music, and you talked about your diverse upbringing and a lot of jazz, which I love. And by the way, I would love to just improv with you, like on the Sundial Bridge sometime, and just like
That
rock
would
it
be
out.
great. Let's do it. And I also just wanna say, if you, wanted to maybe try, Kaputsin, he wrote something for cello and alto sax, I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
saying. If if you ever wanna take a look, it's a
yeah.
formidable
Let's
piece,
let's let's look into it. Absolutely, I'm
yeah, of
excited.
course. Didn't mean to put you on the spot,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
let's talk about that.
that would be
Um,
cool.
but with musically speaking, what do you listen to, I'm sure you do. What do you listen to with any regularity outside of the world of like jazz or classical or art music as a whole? What
Yeah.
is on Anthony's playlist?
Uh-huh. It's a lot of, let's see. Honestly, when I'll say this, when I was younger in high school,
Mhm,
I will sadly admit I was sort of only a listener of classical
mhm.
and jazz only. In college, though, I did expand that. I started listening to more punk rock, and then
Nice.
I evolved into the wide range of electronic music. And
Nice.
finally, on my playlist right now, it's a lot of stuff from these sort of fusion pop artists like Thundercat, who
Mhm.
does sort of soul and pop, I guess maybe you could say, or another person named Flying Lotus. All these people that have like ties with the music that I love, but they're also incorporating modern popular music, like,
Okay.
yeah, like pop or hip hop or stuff like that. Um, Definitely, if my younger self heard me say that, he would be so, like, "You're not only listening to Bach? What is this?" But and these artists also have sort of changed the way that I have viewed my own, artistry on cello.
Mhm.
And I think something that I want to try to do later as a more accomplished teacher is just to try to incorporate the music that I love and make it more appeasable for the younger audiences.
Right.
So yeah, I like what they're doing. And yeah, if you haven't heard some of these artists, definitely recommend them. They're interesting. They're kind of bizarre, but they're you can tell they're good musicians.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess if you're a good musician, then I'll probably listen to whatever music you have
Well,
going on.
I'm gonna check this out. You said Thundercat.
Thundercat, I highly recommend. There's a lot of great ones.
Okay.
Them Changes, definitely
All
enjoy.
right.
Get
I'm
your
sure we're going to talk much more about this, but I'm excited to check it out because
absolutely.
I've been into so many different things in the past few years. When I lived in Nashville, it was bluegrass. I've gone
Bluegrass, of course.
through. I still love EDM.
Mm,
I'm not knowledgeable on EDM by anything, but I love the
wow.
idea of it. I love just being, again, losing myself in the moment, not having. It's very different than listening to a
Mhm.
symphony because symphony you have to think ahead. You have to. It's all about expectation.
Yeah.
EDM is about the now.
Yeah, that's actually extremely well said. Yeah, I mean, they even give you, 4 big old beats to just meditate to, so it's kind of like minimalism, honestly.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes, kind of.
Well,
So,
Anthony, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you today and learning more
yes,
about your especially musical background. And I'm excited for people to hear this and get to know you better, especially having more and more insight when they actually go see you perform, which live won't be in the immediate future, but at the very
right.
least, on October 29th, you're going to be one of our featured musicians in our Mozart and more season opener. So that's exciting.
I'm
And
very excited for that. And someone did a great job on camera work. I've heard through the
Oh
back channel, so
man,
I'm excited to.
if I'm not conducting, I got to do something.
That's fair. Totally fair. Totally
Yeah.
fair. Well,
Well,
thank you for
Anthony,
having me, Scott. By the way, this has been a wonderful addition to my morning, and just really means a lot. So thank you so much.
always a pleasure, Anthony, and we look forward to chatting in soon, and we look forward to being back in the concert hall with each other very soon.